Aloha, what's up everyone? Welcome to today's presentation. Today we're going to be talking about an interesting discovery that allegedly has been made over in Egypt regarding the Great Pyramid and the whole pyramid complex here at Giza. I flew over the pyramids one time when I landed in Egypt when I was in the military. It's quite a sight. It's quite a sight to see. And it's been the subject of countless topics, from scientific research to academics, all the way on to the other side of the spectrum, which is creativity and fringe theories and religion and things of that nature. We're going to touch on all of them. We're going to touch on every single one of these today. I'm going to talk to you about the alleged discovery, and I'll call it alleged. You know what I mean? This is a hot topic right now. It's sparked lots of different criticisms, lots of different debate. Some people are on the extreme other end where it's 100% absolutely true and things of that nature. So I'm going to be presenting my theories, my ideas, that correlate with my research and my books and other things as well. We're going to talk in depth about pyramids, especially those that are here in Egypt, and especially what's said to be underneath the pyramids. So let's start things off with a quick sound check. I already did my own sound check, but I just want to make sure that everyone in the chat can hear me okay. Give me a thumbs up if you can. Also, this video already has like 50 something thumbs ups when we just started. So I just want to say thank you. I appreciate it. And if you're new here, I appreciate that you guys are watching and researching. All right, cool. I'll look for those thumbs up in the chat. Let's go ahead and start things off. Now, for those people who are not familiar with the different pyramids in Egypt, a lot of people might think that the one right here in the middle is the Great Pyramid because it looks like it's the tallest. It looks like it's the biggest one. It's probably the prettiest one because it still has some of the casing on the outside at the top up there, but it's not actually the Great Pyramid. This smaller one right here is the Great Pyramid. This one looks bigger than the rest of them because it's built up higher up on its foundation. But as far as the actual size of the pyramid goes, the middle one is not the tallest one or the biggest one. Now, I'm going to mix in a lot of my own theories and my own research with the things that I'm going to be presenting. So if you're not used to my research, just take it with a grain of salt and take whatever resonates with you. I believe that these pyramids are what I call in my new book, places of power. That in the ancient world, a time that's been long forgotten, there were places of power, which is places of actual energetic power that is born or created deep within the earth, in the bowels of the earth, in the underworld. And every so often we go through a cataclysmic shift where all of that energy rushes up through those caves and through those tunnels and through those cracks, and they burst out of the top. That's how we're going to end the presentation today, because I'm going to share with you some ideas and pictures about that. But these pyramids were built on top of these places of power. They were designed, this is what I put forth and many others too, they were designed for a purpose, a reason, far exceeding and far more important than just housing a dead guy, housing a dead person, to keep one sarcophagus, to keep one coffin, or even if there's a couple of different coffin rooms or multiple rooms, even if they buried a whole bunch of people in here. That's the official academic guess. or what they would say the explanation. Academics, these are complete mystery. Nobody knows, or I shouldn't say nobody knows. Academics, can't seem to explain how these pyramids were even built satisfactorily to most people, right? So the whole concept of all of these pyramids, especially that of the Great Pyramid and whatnot, is a big mystery. Now, I will tell you this, the Great Pyramid's the biggest one, this one over here in the distance that looks like it's the smallest one, this one over here, and then this one right here in the middle. This is the Pyramid of Khafre, or Khafre, or you could say Khafra, because the meaning of the name Khafra means one who looks like Ra. And what is Ra? Ra is a light. Ra is a sun god, or a god of light, basically, right? Now, I find that that's very important, because what does the word pyramid means? Or what does it mean? It comes from two words, pyre, which means light, also by extension, fire, right? So like a funeral pyre is a bunch of sticks people put a dead person on so that they can send him to the next world. Pyre, amid. Amid means inside of, right? So these were structures that people knew emitted light, or contained at the very least light. Not just any light though. Not just like a light from a lantern or a man-made light or electricity, but some sort of magical light, some sort of light that had an effect on human beings and our bodies and things of that nature too. I 100% believe it's directly related to cathedrals, especially those that were built during the medieval times as well, right? You're just seeing an ancient, better version of the cathedral. All right, so as far as how they were built, their structure and whatnot, here's my theory in short. These are places of power. They're buildings of power. They're healing centers and buildings. Some people think they were used as weapons. I think it was the exact opposite of that. But I'll get to that here in a bit towards the end. Now, I believe that these are designed electromagnetically. So I like to dabble in plasma physics, right? And for me, this larger mountain over here and a smaller mountain or pyramid on either side resembles an anode and a cathode of an electrolytic system, or a galvanic and electrolytic cell functions, right? Which basically batteries. They're designed to work with energy. They're energetic structures, okay? That's how I see it off the top. Usually what you have is the anode or the cathode. One of those will be larger because it gains electrons and chemicals and stuff from the other one. So the other one will get smaller and smaller, and the opposite one will get larger and larger, right? One side will make you smaller, one side will make you larger. It goes back to Alice in Wonderland and the symbolism that's locked away in that book, which is amazing too. I got a whole bunch of Alice in Wonderland stuff coming up for this next Truth in Movies, which is going to be the electric state. Now, let's get back to the topic of the pyramid and what people have allegedly found underneath it. Many people have speculated about the Great Pyramid usually is of focus, but I believe that this pyramid's more important than the Great Pyramid itself, being central, being right there in the middle, right? And also being one that's named after Ra himself, or someone who takes the appearance of Ra, right? This is an artist's concept of what was found underneath the the Pyramid of Khafre. And as you can see, they put this pyramid up top up here, and then down underneath it, they have like these structures. Now, this is just art, okay? I'm going to show you the actual findings. People basically scanned underneath the Great Pyramid, allegedly using a new form of scanning that allows them to penetrate better and to see deeper and to see more things underneath the pyramid complex. And what they found is something that looks, or people imagine, looks something like this. These columns, these pillars that seem to have some sort of spirals going all the way down them. Now, many people have put forth for a long time, and I look forward to hearing your comments in the chat and your theories and ideas. It's okay to think outside the box and have your own perspective and theories. Many people have put forth that the pyramids are some sort of energetic machine, right? I'll tell you what my theory is, as we continue on. Now, here's the official report. Here's some images that I'll share. Many of these are being shared around the internet right now. This is the actual pyramid itself, and this is a reconstruction of the scanning. So they scanned deep into the ground with ground penetrating radar type technology, similar to what you saw in Jurassic Park at the very beginning whenever they didn't need to dig. The archaeologists didn't need to dig. They just scanned the ground underneath and they could see the bones and stuff. Similar type of technology, right? So they took the information, they reconstructed it and put it into a computer to build these models. So this is what you're looking at. This is the actual pyramid itself. And they've got these 5 little, what look to me like Japanese style ancient housing structures on the inside. Okay. So let's take a look at that real quick. This is very interesting too, because I believe that a lot of the ancient Japanese structures, and building styles were also built to work with electricity in the air, to work with or against plasma or thunderbolts of the gods so that they would be protected and empowered, actually drawing power or ether from the air itself, from the atmosphere, because the atmosphere was electrically amplified. The earth is electrically amplified on the inside. We go through 2 different cycles. One cycle, all that energy charges and it goes down into the earth. The earth pulls the energy into it, and we suffer here on the top from a lack of energy. Some people call it a sinful condition. Some people refer to it as entropy. What it is to me is it's a lack of energy. It's the earth charging and taking away our energy up here on the surface, which is really not ours. It's just the earth's charging it and pulling it inside. So therefore, those who live in the earth during these times are going to benefit from that influx of energy down in the underworld, or in, the upside down, or the world underneath our feet or whatnot. But every other cycle, it's released. It's just like breathing in and out, cycles and rhythms. And so this next cycle, if we live in the cycle where energy is being pulled downward into the earth, then the good news is the cycle coming up next is the cycle where all that energy is released and it travels through those cavernous systems and it bursts out of the tops of pyramids, volcanoes, caves, entrances, and whatnot, and it fills our world back up with energy, leading back into a time of mysticism, fantasy, magic that we have all but forgotten about, and only remind ourselves through the breadcrumbs that we leave ourselves through things and mediums like creativity, music, movies, and things of that nature. It really comes out whenever we use our creative abilities. Now, here's what they found underneath it, right? Huge pillars. They say 8. I don't know. It looks like it could possibly be more than 8 to me. I'll show you in a bit. And then they have these spirals that go all the way down these pillars. They're guessing that these pillars are actually tubes, that they're hollow on the inside, is the theory that's being put forth right now. And then you have something that's clearly, according to this report, clearly wrapped around these tubes, leading all the way up to this structure that appears to many for decades and decades and decades to be some sort of machine, some sort of antiquitex or ancient technology, right? That we have all but forgotten about. Why have we forgotten about this technology? Many different reasons. One, there's worldwide amnesia that happens after every apocalyptic cycle. Okay, there's instant amnesia because it's such a terrible and terrifying experience for so many people that the mind protects itself by erasing those memories. So people wake up after the apocalyptic event, those that survived, having no recollection of anything because they literally have amnesia. Some memories might come back to some might not. However, it's also over time, we just forget because we don't share those stories. We don't remind ourselves over, the next century and the next century and the next century. We don't pass all the information down to our children, and we don't, it becomes less and less important. So people forget about these cyclical apocalypses. And I'm remembering them, which is why I write about them in my books. That's the main focus in my books. All right, let's continue on. Now, this is the actual report here, and this is the scan. This is one of the main scans of interest, and this is what it looks like when they use this ground-penetrating radar, right? And let me also say this, too, before I continue on. I'm not saying that this is 100% true. I'm not saying, oh my God, I really want this to be true, so it is, and I'm going to put it forth like it is. I'm also saying this is not all a hoax, this is gibberish, this is stupid, this is dumb, this makes no sense. I like to be balanced in the middle. I like to take a middle approach, which means I consider the fantastic as well as the scientific or academic or whatever people have, right? So that I can weigh them out together and come to my own conclusions. So just like when I talk about omens, right? People can see an omen and it could mean nothing to one person, but it can mean the whole world to another person. I believe in truth. I believe that I don't really believe in lies per se. I believe that that truth is everywhere and that everything is made out of truth. This is more my philosophy, just for a second, okay? If it's true that everything's made out of truth, then any perceived falsehood is just that. It's a perception, which means it's a veil of forgetfulness. It's an illusion. It's what the ancient people in India referred to as Maya, right? It's a shroud. It's a veil of illusion. There's a misunderstanding on my part, not to see the bigger picture or to make a connection. So that's where I'm coming from in this particular presentation. Now, this is the scan right here. As you can see, these are the equivalent of these pillars right over here. Okay, so they look at this information and they scan it out, and they, I don't know how any of it really works. I just know they're scanning the ground and this is what they get, just like in Jurassic Park, right? And then whenever we go back, they plug that in and it looks like this: pillars underground. What are these pillars? If they are real, let's just suppose for a moment that this is true. What would they be? What could they be? What would these pillars with these spirals wrapping around them be? Well, just like it says in the thumbnail, I'm going to go back to fantasy for a moment. I'm going to make a connection. I break down the truth in the movies. I decode movies. It's one of my favorite things to do here on my channel. One of the movies that I have decoded is this one. It's Total Recall. If you guys remember the movie, the original Total Recall, the good one. Now, in Total Recall, it's reflecting our very world, not some faraway Mars, not some other planet or whatever. It's reflecting our world and our actual history that we go through every other cycle here on Earth. It's the world of fantasy where there's a red sky as opposed to the world of the flooded world of the blue sky. Okay, our world goes through these different shifts, including color spectrum shifts. Now, in the movie, it all revolves around this mountain. In the movie, they didn't have any breathable atmosphere, and that was a huge problem. The government knew that oxygen was low. The government of Mars knew that oxygen was low, and they knew they had discovered this mountain, which is a pyramid, right? And they also discovered ancient alien technology that was underneath this mountain. And you know what that technology looked like? It looked like this. It looked like pillars and columns and stuff that was underneath this pyramid mountain. These were called the pyramid mines, right? And what happened in the movie is Arnold Schwarzenegger, or Quaid, Douglas Quaid, he finds this and he goes down into the mountain in order to turn this machine, this pyramid machine, on to activate these pillars down underneath the mountain so that it would produce fresh oxygen for the world. This is reflecting back to you Earth, okay? History, actual real history. This is my perspective. I'm going to stop saying it's my perspective. You get the point, right? But this is our history repeated back to us, rewrapped and then represented back to us. And then some of us who don't have the eyes to see and don't have the ears to hear, we're simply amused, which means without thought. You're just watching it just to take a break from actually thinking, right? But I do the opposite whenever I watch these movies. It actually boosts my creativity and my ability to think critically, to think fantastically, and to use my imagination to connect dots that can't be connected any other way. I also go off of intuition, okay? And I know that to academically minded people, that's a huge no-no. You're not supposed to go off of your feelings or senses or sensations or your sixth sense or whatnot. Anyways, so this is a machine pyramid in the movie. Underneath it are these exact same pillars, exactly how I showed you guys over here with this diagram. Okay, same exact thing. This movie predicted this, but did it? Did it predict it purposefully, actually predicting it? Or is it just sharing back with us ancient knowledge that we have forgotten about, knowledge that is kept and stored in some of the great places of the world like Egypt and other places that have built this type of antiquitech and ancient technology to harness the Earth's natural healing, empowering, life-giving energy that goes by many names throughout antiquity. Now, this is another concept of what those pillars look like. Here's just one that's been singled out. These are columns and pillars, and there's something wrapped around it that's represented by this yellow spiral, right? What could this be? Now, at first, I've heard a lot of people saying, oh, this is a stairway. That's okay. That's good. Now we're thinking. Now we're starting to come up with ideas of what could it possibly be. But there's like 8 of these at least, and they all have this super long stairway that would go all the way around the outside of the pillar. And it seems to me like there's maybe room for more ideas, right? So I'll share with you mine. This is a piece of antiquitech. This is a piece of ancient technology which is used to harness and manipulate energy. This is a coil, right? Some people, might think of Tesla coils. There's all kinds of different coils. But the purpose of these coils, oftentimes, especially within plasma physics, because plasma is really what we're talking about. That's the inner earth energy, okay? That life-giving energy that I'm talking about is plasma. It's a specific type of ionized gas or ionized gases that are healing and life-giving and provide benefits to many people. And we can harness that energy and use that energy. There's also destructive plasma that comes down from the sky every other cycle and causes destruction and petrifies things and does all kinds of horrible mischief and damage. But this is the purpose of the coil. It's to create and manipulate the electromagnetic fields. If you wrap a conductive coil all the way around these hollow tubes or pillars, what happens is you're changing the electromagnetic field and the current of the thing that's passing through it. Now, if that thing that's passing through it is plasma, right, and it's rushing through it, it's likely to heat up, right? However, if you wrap these coils around it, like I said, it will actually create a force field, which is a magnetic field, that keeps the plasma from touching the interior of the tube, which keeps the tube safe over time, and it doesn't allow it to melt or whatever, right? And you can effectively change the course, the flow, the direction of the plasma itself. This is one use for these coils, one of the main uses for these coils. It's just sideways right now, but something else that might stand out is the shape that's created of the electromagnetic field. It's the exact same shape that people are using now to try to come up with fusion or free energy using plasma, which is this is all ancient knowledge. This is also the face of the owl. You might recognize that, right? The Illuminati owl, the owl of wisdom and whatnot. And it's appropriate that it's the owl of wisdom because this inner earth energy is, from my perspective, based on my research and my path in life so far, it's not just energy, but it's stored frequencies in the form of knowledge, in the form of what Edgar Cayce referred to as the Akashic Records, or the Hall of Records, which we'll talk about here in a minute whenever we talk about the Emerald Tablets, right? So yes, I believe that that underneath, regardless of whether or not the story is true, some people think it's just a big hoax. I'm not really on that side. I haven't seen any evidence that this is a huge hoax. There was like a 4-hour press conference over, I think, in Italy, regarding this, and it seems pretty legitimate to me. But even if it's not, even if it is a big hoax, like I said, all this information comes from somewhere, right? Everything to me has an element and a grain of truth to it. So I just untie those knots to find that truth, basically. All right, so let's talk about these pyramids and their role within electromagnetics and what they're used for. You see pictures like this all over the place. I'm going to share some more, and this actually turns into fantasy over time. Okay, so here's the pyramid of Khafre. And now remember, Khafre means like Ra, right? Which is the light, the god of light, one of the gods of light. Underneath these are tunnels, caves, deep down underneath these, even underneath the Great Pyramid. I've read stories that talked about eyewitness accounts, people that have said to have gone down into these underground tunnels beneath the Great Pyramid, which is the largest one, and there's said to be a bottomless pit underneath the Great Pyramid. As a matter of fact, I read one account where a person went down underneath this tunnel down underneath the Great Pyramid, and they reported to have strange effects. Like the pyramid had strange effects on them the lower they went, to the point where they were manifesting things. So this particular story I remember, the person was afraid and thinking that they might get bit, I think, by a snake or a spider. I can't remember which one it was, but they were thinking about something that was scaring them, like a snake, right? And then all of a sudden the snake like reached out and bit them, so they assumed that they manifested it. They didn't manifest it. What happens is whenever your body is electromagnetically amplified through resonant energy from, that's also amplified around you, it amplifies your mind, your synapses, you start thinking 100% instead of 10%, and it amplifies your soul, your chakras and stuff. Essentially, what's the correct word? It gives you telepathy. It gives you telepathic abilities. So this person didn't manifest a snake that reached out and bit them. They just sensed the snake that was already there. They just knew it. They weren't used to tuning into their own telepathic abilities, which I believe many people have. But the stronger your spirit is, the better your ability to be telepathic is, and other things as well, right? So anyways, there's said to be tunnels and cave systems down underneath these pyramids, not just the ones in Egypt either, but many great pyramids across the world from ancient civilizations that were all building these types of structures. Many people have put this together using comparative mythology and comparative history and asked the question, why? Why are these cultures all across the world building similar structures? Because it's difficult to figure out if we project our current circumstances and our current atmospheric conditions and earthly conditions onto a past that had different ones. You know what I mean? So let's assume that going back into the past, we were in another cycle where that energy was being released and the earth was being filled with inner earth gases that are being ionized and turning into plasma, which is electrically amplifying our atmosphere and adding much needed life-giving gases back into our atmosphere. Within academics, this is called the Great Oxidation Event, where for some unknown reason, the Earth provided its own oxygen in mass, leading to gigantism and whatnot, other things too, longer lifespans and stuff like that. However, within almost all of these that I've researched, these are some different examples. There are cave systems, tunnels, etc., underneath most of these. In these particular examples, I think Uxmal, they haven't found any here yet. Snefru, they haven't found any here yet. And there's one more, Menkaure, this one right here. They haven't found underground tunnels yet. But on all these other ones, they have, right? Now, I believe that there are naturally occurring cave systems in certain parts of the world. These cave systems are entrances into the hollow earth if they go down all the way, right? These are the places of power. When survivors of cataclysmic events and times long forgotten were stumbling around in the dark and they see this beacon of light or beam of light shooting straight up out of the earth itself, they would walk towards it because it's dark and it's foggy and the world is covered in a vapor canopy. And according to legends and myths and religions and other things, there were monsters walking around, mutants and monsters, and the world was a strange place. And people didn't know where to go, so they followed these beacons of light. The largest beacon of light is at the center of the world. That's what my newest book is about. It's about Mount Meru and Rupus Nigra and Paradise, or Hyperborea, or the Hesperides, or the Garden of Eden, right? That has the largest opening that goes down into the earth according to the legends and the trail of breadcrumbs that I have followed. And therefore it produces the largest beacon of light, the sign that people follow, the light that people follow to get back to where it all began, to get back to the center place, or the center of the maze, I should say. But anyways, all these places are built. These locations are purposefully chosen because they're naturally occurring places of power that were being used by nobility. Now, what they would do is they would build or construct temples, houses that aligned with, resonated with, amplified, and worked with the frequencies that were already existent in that spot, right? What do I mean? I'm talking about cymatics, and I'm talking about energy and frequency. The energy and frequencies create shapes, in short and simply put. This shape, the pyramid shape, is the shape of the frequency that is coming up out of the ground in that place. So the people built the shape that worked best with that frequency. To contain it, they would put little tiny openings, small windows, which are basically ventilation, so that you can control, you can allow some of that out. You don't want the pressure to build up and then your structure just blows up. You know what I mean? So they would vent the energy in there. It was also acoustic in nature, right? To amplify the energy in different ways, or even to change the energy, to tune it. And this is music, right? This is why your cathedrals, your modern day cathedrals, why they don't have windows. They have stained glass windows, which are basically not, you can't open them up or anything. Within the stained glass windows, they have vents, which is little tiny windows you can open. But those are not windows to see outside. Those are not windows to let some fresh air in or anything of the sort, okay? Cathedrals are pretty much sealed off, and they line the walls with pipe organs, and then they play tunes and stuff. So people go in there and they play the music, which vibrates throughout the halls and stuff, and it tunes the plasma that fills that room up, or fills that structure, just like these things. They fill the structure up. Now, why would somebody build that? What's the benefit to it? If I'm correct, my theory is that, and many people have come up with this theory, but I'm on board. The theory is that these are healing centers, okay? These are places of power that allow those who live within them, dwell within them, or take baths within them, right? To just surround themselves in this, what some people call vril, or inner earth energy, or however you want to call it. It would stimulate their skin and their body and their muscles and their mind, and it would make them better people. Not as far as the choices they make in life or anything, I'm not sure, but it would heal their body. It would allow them to live much longer. It would stimulate the collagen and the elastin in their skin, which keeps them young looking. Now, do you think that if this is true, let's suppose that that might be true, all right? If that was true, do you think that all the Egyptians in Egypt were just lining up to take, forever baths to keep their longevity and live forever? Or how about people in Mesoamerica? No, probably not, right? These were reserved for the elite. These were reserved for nobility. These were not graves. Now, could they bring a dead person back to life? I'm quite certain they could. And I know that that is a reality. Dead people come back to life all the time, especially when you look back in antiquity. Real dead people, not people that were mostly dead or just died or whatever, but people who have been dead a long while. I've lost track of how many stories I've read going back into antiquity over thousands of years, of people who have come back to life. Actual zombies, actual people that came back to life. So yes, you could definitely put a dead body into the sarcophagus that's contained within, these buildings, and just let them bathe in life-giving energy that would heal their body and bring them back to life. This was not for your common person. These were built by cataclysmic survivors who came from the Garden of Eden, who came from the Tree of Life, who came from Yggdrasil and Hyperborea and the center of the world, where this was common for them. This type of knowledge or technology, working with the naturally occurring energy and frequencies of the earth, this was common because that's central to the Garden of Eden, was this axis mundi, this huge pillar of light, this huge tree of energy. And they understood it because they saw it every single day, and they were familiar with, its inner workings. It's only strange to us because we live in the Southlands. We live on the outside, on the outskirts of Eden, on the outskirts of Hyperborea and the Hesperides. And so that place is alien to us, as is the technology to work with the naturally occurring energy that's abundant there. However, the knowledge of it is still in this world, because it's a closed system that we live in, and all the frequencies, all the actions, all the vibrations are contained within this world. They don't leave, they don't dissipate, they don't disappear, right? Energy can't be created or destroyed. It stays here. It's recorded. Every single action, thought, deed, building, structure, event is all recorded and still there within the frequencies that are inside of this world, right? So we get things like this. This is the pyramid of Luxor in Las Vegas, right? And it's got the Sphinx out in front of it. But one, it's black, which is interesting because to me that harkens back to Rupus Nigra and Magnetic Mountains and Lodestone Mountains, etc. But two, why is there a big fat beacon of light? A blue beam shooting out of the top of this pyramid, this black mountain. Well, it could just be for aesthetics. It could just be because it's pretty, because it's interesting or whatever. But it also could be that it harkens back to a truth that maybe somebody that was using their creative mind, like an architect or somebody, tapped into accidentally, or maybe they had secret knowledge that most people have forgotten about. I believe people can tap into secret and ancient knowledge and ancient wisdom accidentally, not even knowing that they are. And it comes out oftentimes through creative mediums, like, you know, art and making things like buildings and stuff too. Now, which pyramid is this supposed to be? Wouldn't you know it? The same exact one that we're talking about. The central pyramid, of course. The pyramid of Khafra, or Khafre. And it's got the Sphinx right out in front of it. And I'm going to touch on the Sphinx right now too. So this is very interesting to me, right? So this is the cartoonified version of this, right? This place right here exists. This place right here was made after this. And 1,000 years from now, if there's no apocalyptic cycle yet, then you can imagine how much more cartoonified this concept would be as we get further and further away from the reality. This is a type that lies at the center of the world. Okay? Now, let's check out the Sphinx for a moment. Now, between the paws of the Sphinx is guarding this version of Mount Meru, this energetic machine that's harnessing earth energy. The Sphinx guards it. Now, there's this stela, there's this tablet, this story that's on the Sphinx. And this is called the Dream Stela, or the Dream Story, you could say. And on it, it shows two Sphinxes facing in opposite directions. And it talks about how this pharaoh, he had a dream. And now back then, dreams were way more prophetic than they are today, because the energy, like I said, is being siphoned from the surface and it's being charged going down into the center of the earth. So as time passes, we'll have every day, there's less and less energy on the surface world, okay? So it's going to affect your dreams as well, your ability to interpret those dreams and to understand messages and deeper knowledge and things like that. But for those of you who have a stronger spirit, it comes a little easier than for most, right? So back then, people's dreams were extremely significant, right? They knew the reality of them. So anyways, this guy has a dream, and in his dream, he was shown the Sphinx, which at that time, thousands of years ago, was covered up to its neck in sand. Which is interesting because when they found it in modern times, it was also covered up to its neck in sand. It's interesting because he was told to remove all the sand, to excavate the Sphinx, which was guarding this pyramid, Khafre's pyramid. The Sphinx is guarding Khafre's pyramid, but there's two of them in the stela. He was told to excavate the Sphinx, and if he does so, he would become the king of Egypt. He would become the pharaoh. Benjamin, hey, thanks for your donation, Benjamin. So he did. He excavated, according to the story, right? I'm not saying this. These are real people. They actually existed. It doesn't matter to me. It's echoing an ancient truth, an ancient historic truth. Now, he excavated the Great Sphinx, just like we did today. Why would he become the pharaoh if he excavates the Great Sphinx, or the Sphinx, right? If he takes out all that sand, because of what he finds within it, which empowers him, which allows him to become powerful and become the pharaoh, or take charge, right? Or actually be in charge, to have that charge running through his body. But there's two Sphinxes here, facing opposite directions. So my theory, and others as well, believe that on the other side of the pyramid, facing the opposite direction, if they dig, they should find another Sphinx. Because there's always two. There's always two Sphinxes. There's always two guardians to ancient mystic portals, especially those that lead into the underworld, which this does. All right. Why is that? It's because of the the concept of, like I said, the anode and the cathode, the energy having to have a positive and a negative always to balance that out whenever you have a transfer between them, right? You always have a positive and a negative. That's what the Sphinxes represent. They represent those guardians. Sphinx actually means to squeeze, to tighten, right? Just like the energy that's coming up would tighten as it goes through those cave systems and whatnot, right? So this is the dream stela, 2 sphinxes on either side. I thought that was super interesting. Now let's get over to the emerald tablets of Thoth, right? The emerald tablets. This is interesting. This is the same type of deal. Many people are like, oh, that's not real. That's not historic. Okay, that's not verified. That's not peer reviewed. I don't care about peer reviews. You can, if you want to, that's fine. I don't have a whole, I don't know. I don't look around at the geniuses of the world today that's clearly in a satanic fallen state and see peers. Okay, so I don't care about their reviews. I listen to my inner intuition and that inner spirit and that, I don't even know how to explain it. Sometimes it's hard to use words. But anyways, yeah, a lot of people are like, that's not peer reviewed. The emerald tablets of Thoth, that's a hoax. That's a fakery. Listen, whatever you think it is, I hear the truth that is contained within it. Okay, even if it's just completely quote unquote made up. I believe, like the Bible says, there's nothing new under the sun. Okay, it's all been done. It's all reoccurring. There's no new knowledge. There's nothing that's innovative. It's just rediscovered time and time again. All right, so we're going to check out the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, and I've just highlighted the word pyramid time and time again. We're going to start right here where actually I believe it talks about the Sphinx. And he says here, deep beneath the image lies my secret. I'm thinking he means the image of the Sphinx. Search and find in it the pyramid I built. Thoth, this god, built the pyramids, right? Not a human, not someone with arms and legs and stuff, but a god. Gods are personified as being humans because we project ourselves onto them, right? Deep beneath the image lies my secret. Search and find it in the pyramid I built. Each to the other is the keystone. Each the gateway that leads into life. Follow the key I have left behind me. Now this concept of traversing the labyrinth, getting to the center, finding the key so that you can find your way out of this world or live forever or be at peace or be in paradise or whatever, is reoccurring all throughout our media and other things too. Each the gateway that leads into life. Follow the key that I leave behind me. Seek, and the doorway to life shall be thine. Seek thou in my pyramid. Remember, pyramid means light within. Deep in the passage that ends in a wall, use thou the key of the 7, and open to thee the pathway will fall. Very poetic, very interesting. I've sort of broken this down before a million times. The concept of the key of 7 is of particular interest to me because it tells me a particular location. But let's continue on and check out what else he says about the different pyramids. I'm going to start with the first time that Thoth actually mentions pyramid in the Emerald Tablets here. Let's see. There's this little intro here. Here we go. So this is the god Thoth, or Hermes Trismegistus, right? The thrice great. 3 times, 3 beams, anode, cathode, and central pillars of energy. Raise thy high over the entrance, a doorway, a gateway, leading down into Amenti. Few there would be with courage to dare it. Few pass the portal to dark Amenti. This is inside of the earth. Now, this exact story that I'm reading to you right now resonates with the story of Gilgamesh, or the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is one of the oldest histories that humans have found so far, or released to the public so far. Gilgamesh also goes down into the earth, past reptilian humanoids and stuff like that, to seek out how to live longer. That's the whole purpose. That's the value. It's not gold. It's not silver. It's not metal. It's not knowledge. It's not any of that. Life is the most valuable thing. He goes on and says, raised over the passage, I, a mighty pyramid, using the power that overcomes earth force, deep and yet deeper, placed I a force. house or chamber. From it carved I a circular passage reaching almost to the great summit. There in the apex set I the crystal, sending the ray into the time-space, drawing the force from out of the ether, concentrating upon the gateway to Amenti. And then there's like an author's note right there. Continuing on, he says, built I the great pyramid, patterned after the pyramid of earth force. Now this is a particular interest, and I'm going to talk about this next. Thoth says, I built the great pyramid, and I patterned this construction after the pyramid of earth force. What does that mean? That's what I was saying earlier. The earth creates these shapes. The earth creates these things through energy, right? The thing that we cannot see is the energy, oftentimes, until it turns into light, then we can see it, okay? But there's spectrums that we cannot see, but there's things there, like different electromagnetic spectrums and stuff too, right? That unseen energy creates the seen world. The things that are unseen create the things that are seen. The things that are invisible create the things that are visible. So these pyramids, the shapes and all of it, exist first in the etheric, in the ghostly, in the spiritual, however you want to see that. He goes on to say, built I the great pyramid, patterned after the pyramid of earth force, burning eternally. The earth force that burns eternally. That's the dark sun inside of the earth, plasma. Might remain through the ages. In it, I built my knowledge of magic science, so that it might be here when I again return from Amenti. So this god, Thoth, it goes by many names, went down into the earth, into Tartarus, into Hades and the underworld and the underdark and the upside down, etc., and so on and so forth, to infinity and beyond. Went down inside the earth, just like Jesus, just like so many other people. These gods appear. They burst out of the surface. They make their appearance as pillars, and they spread out at the top, lifting their hands, praising the heavens or whatnot, right? This is all interpretation and people's perspectives, right, of naturally occurring substance that comes up out of the earth. And then every other cycle, they all die. They all leave. They all retract. They all go back down into the earth as we go through a polarity flip and the energy reverses and goes in the other direction. Inside of it, I built my knowledge of magic science so that it might be there when I return again from Amenti. While I sleep in the halls of Amenti, my soul, roaming free, will incarnate, dwell among men in this form or another. So what does that mean? That means that this plasma, this inner earth energy, this blue beam, as I like to call it, because I believe it's ionized oxygen and nitrogen for the most part, it gives you a blue beam, bluish green, depends on how much of, one gas or another is mixed in there. But that's where these gods are. That's where these gods have gone. They've gone down into the earth. And they rest there. They sleep there. They meditate there. Because it's charging. Right? Whenever things are charging, they're in a state of meditation. They're gaining energy. Just like when you go to sleep at night, you're charging. So that's where Thoth is saying that he is. Down inside the earth where he keeps this hall of records. All of his knowledge. Hermes, the thrice born. And he shares this story of being reincarnated in human form up here on the surface time and time again, but not forgetting any of his experiences. And every time he goes back down to the halls of Amenti, these experiences are added to the collective knowledge of the Akashic records, or the earth knowledge, which contains it. So, and this is why those who reach Mount Meru, this is why those who build these structures and these places of power, why they seem to have access to advanced knowledge, forgotten knowledge. And this type of knowledge seems ridiculous to naysayers. It seems ridiculous to scoffers. It seems ridiculous and stupid and dumb to academics and people who are academically minded. But this is my world. This is where I live. This is where I came from. And this is where I'm going back to. Now, as far as the earth energy, remember he said that the structures the actual pyramid structures are created after the Earth's naturally occurring energy or energetic fields, right? These shapes are created from the frequencies and vibrations of the plasma that's coming up out of the Earth. So, for example, many people have seen naturally occurring pyramids, ones that don't look like they're actual structures. They don't look like, man-made buildings or whatever. They look like mountains that are in the shape, or hills or whatever, that are pyramidal in shape. This one's in China. There's a whole city of pyramids in China, right? Most likely, there's cavernous systems under every single one of these. Now, this is how I believe naturally occurring pyramids, which usually take the shape of volcanoes, which is what, to me, that's the whole pyramid with missing its top and then the all-seeing eye above it and all that stuff. That is a volcano. Okay, I'm trying to keep my thoughts organized right now. All the volcanoes on Earth right now we consider to be either extinct, inactive, or dangerous because they're full of lava, which is how the story goes. But that's not so in the world to come or in the world that once was. They weren't all just full of lava and melted rock or whatever the story goes. They're full of plasma. And the plasma is what contributes and causes these to become these reactors that melt the metals that mix with the dirt and the earth that turns into what we call magma and lava. Okay? It's not melted rock. It's melted metal that's mixed with rock. Okay? Now, how volcanoes are formed is that, say you have a cave down here, there's nothing. The land's flat. Okay, which is how it is every other cycle. There's no mountains and stuff like that in the world to come. It's just maybe some rolling hills and stuff, but there's no mountains, okay? Mountains come with the introduction of the oceans, all right? Every other cycle. Anyways, so check this out. You have a cave down here. It's all flat. There's nothing there. There's a cave down, an opening in the earth. A pillar of plasma, a beam shoots up. It draws to it the muddy surface, which will be muddy after the apocalypse, all right? All that mud and debris and stuff just starts moving towards the center. It's attracted to the electricity, just like whenever you rub a balloon on your head and you pull it away, your hair is attracted to the balloon and it will defy gravity and move towards the balloon. Same thing in these pillars, these ground pillars. All that earth energy will come towards it, and the closer it gets to the center, it changes the bonds. This is the Philosopher's Stone. Okay, it changes the bonds of all that mud and stuff, basically making it more dense, right? So it solidifies and it becomes petrified. And then more of it stacks up on top and it becomes petrified. More of it stacks up on top and it becomes petrified. And then you have this hole in the middle where that beam of energy has rushed up through the center, vitrifying and turning the center of that cave into like glass and crystal and stuff like that. Anyways, well, all I'm saying is that these pyramids, we pattern ours after the naturally occurring shapes that Mother Nature already makes, is what I'm saying. Now, what were they used for? What were the pyramids used for? I'm going to show you some movie clips as examples so that you can, I find it easier to wrap my mind around difficult concepts with images and movies and stuff like that. This is a clip from the movie X-Men Apocalypse, right? I don't need to tell you what the movie's all about or anything. All you need to know is that inside of the pyramid in Egypt, there's this ancient god known as Apocalypse, and he represents the actual apocalypse, okay? But the whole reason why he goes into the pyramid and why he finds the pyramid to be a place of power and importance is because he lies down in this sarcophagus and he's wrapped in plasma, which rejuvenates him and makes him younger. And this is shown to us many different times in many different movies, right? We're tapping into these things. Or it's also a possibility that the people that produce these movies or write the script or whatever it may be, maybe they know. Maybe this is your disclosure, okay? And it's up to you whether or not you have the ears to hear and the eyes to see. If you don't, fine, it's not disclosure. It's just a mindless movie. Who cares? And it's just something to, to sit there and not think. And then when the movie's over, you can go, wow, that was a good movie, huh? And then forget all about the movie and go back to your loops and living in your daily life, loop after loop and cycle after cycle. However, this is from Stargate, which is one of my favorite movie decodes that we've done. You can check out my Truth in Movies playlist and you can find this one. Stargate, one of my favorite ones. I cherish that movie Decode. In the movie Stargate, there's also a pyramid that's on another world, which is not another world. It's our world every other cycle. And within that pyramid, there's a sarcophagus, which is a little box that you're supposed to put dead people in, right? But it's not a coffin. It's not to bury them. And that's not the purpose of the ancient pyramids either. Like I said, this is for nobility. They would put them into these baths, which is really what they were, okay? And then they would allow it to be filled. They would allow these chambers and these rooms and these baths and stuff to be filled with this life-giving earth force, this earth energy that stimulates every single part of their body and rejuvenates them, makes them stronger, makes them more intellectual, or be able to use more of their processing power of their brain, right? Strengthens their chakras, their spirit, amplifies their abilities, their mental abilities, their psychic abilities, and further things too, right? So we're shown these concepts in the movies. It's also in books. I did a breakdown on this particular book right here called Vril. And as you can see on the cover, it's supposed to be a picture of the Earth. On the top of the Earth, here, let me zoom into this. On the top of the Earth, on this old book, this book's probably over 100 years old, right? And I highly recommend reading this book. If you don't want to read it, I actually have already read it, or maybe I just did a breakdown of it. I can't remember, but it's on my channel. It says Vril, real big in blue letters. But anyways, at the top of the Earth, you can see all these volcanoes, right? Inside the volcanoes are these cavernous systems that go down into these open spaces, right? Which go down into the heart of the Earth, which is this black sun or whatever. Throughout all these open spaces in this book called Vril, which is written as a first-hand eyewitness account, basically a travelogue that goes down into the hollow Earth. The first person view, the protagonist, he meets giants, humanoid giants that live down there. And in my mind, they look similar to like the creatures from Avatar or something. But the main thing is that they have this inner earth light, this inner earth energy that they use for a light source, like a lamp, so they can see and stuff. But it's also used to create like these protective weapons, these staffs that they have, that they can easily, defeat like these gigantic lizards that live down there and other creatures too. But also, in this book, the protagonist talks about he's learning their culture. He's stuck down there. He doesn't know how to get back to the surface, right? So he stays down there and he learns the culture of these inner earth giants and stuff. And they're teaching him his language, and it's actually really easy for him to pick up on it. Why? It doesn't take him years and years to learn their language, because the longer he's down there, the more amplified his brain, his synapses and stuff are becoming, and he's using more and more of his brain. It's a lot easier to learn a brand new language when you're constantly surrounded with energy, life-giving energy, right? So he's down there, and they show him their baths of Vril. They call this substance Vril in the book. Okay, it's like this life force, this earth life force, this earth energy. So they take these baths in this Vril substance, right? It powers everything. It's the central focus of everything down inside of the earth, and they revere it and they honor it and they use it for many different ways or whatever. Awesome book. I love this book. You should definitely check it out. But it's not just in movies. That was my point. It's not just in books. This survives in our collective subconscious time and time again. Here's a thumbnail from the History Channel, right? Why do they show pyramids with beams of light that are shooting out of the top of them, especially blue beams or bluish-green beams of light? Like I have a tone in my voice right now because I just think it's funny. I think I laugh at myself that this was so obvious before I realized what it was. I used to pass these images by and just really think nothing of it. In the back of my mind, like Morpheus says in The Matrix, like a splinter in the back of your mind, right? I took note in the back of my mind of all the occurrences of these beams of light that were shooting up out of the tops of pyramids everywhere I went in my earthly walk in life. And the more I looked, the more I started to take note. And the more I started to realize there's something to this. Not all the different people across the world are, are just making stuff up that has no substance, no relevance, no anything, right? I mean, this is just a small example from Google. I just Googled pyramid and beam of light, okay? But the reason that this is drawn out, the reason we want there to be a beam of light shooting up out of the tops of these pyramids is because there was. Actually, probably looked, this one's probably one of my favorite ones. I just saw this one. Hold on, let me open this up. So this one's really interesting. Hold on. I'm just commenting on the fly now, but let me open this one up. Check this out. Wow, this one's really good. Why? I'll explain to you. Hold on, let me blow it up a little bit. So check this. This is really good. So this is a type of Mount Meru, okay? If you don't know what Mount Meru is, there's lots of information on my channel here all about Mount Meru, okay? But anyways, the beam of light, there's a star that is born. I don't want to get too off topic because there's probably a lot of new people watching because this is like a trendy topic right now. But basically, this is Ra. Okay, and it's not the sun that's far away. If you look at this as one thing altogether, this is what it looked like in Hyperborea in the Garden of Eden. Okay, there was a plasmoid that's created inside of that magnetic mountain, and it shoots a beam of energy down and up, and that's the blue beam that we see that comes up out of these mountains and volcanoes and pyramids and stuff like that. This is the ancient sun. It rose eastward, which was up. It set downward back into the earth. It actually went back down into Mount Meru, the plasma volcano, and it would disappear. And this is the ancient day and night cycle in the Garden of Eden. But this is Ra. This is one of the older sun gods. Okay, and a sun is just light. That's it. Okay, there were many different suns throughout antiquity, going back in time. Different types of them, right? There were some that were earthly suns that were created and come up out of the earth like this one. And then there were those that were heavenly, like the apex dome of the firmament. Now, if these subjects are of interest to you as they are to me, I highly recommend going to my website, JayDreamerZ.com. And I've written 2 books. My first book is Ancient Oblivion, the Plasma Apocalypse, which is the Cliff's Notes on everything about this cyclical cataclysm that happens to our world. How it happens, why it happens, what it looks like, what to expect, the omens leading up to it, the post-apocalyptic world afterwards. And then over here, this is my new book. This one's called Ancient Oblivion, Return to Hyperborea, which as you can see has the plasma volcano on the cover. And this is where you can purchase these books if you're interested in this topic. If you go to Amazon, you can also check out my book there. If you buy it from my website, it comes with an autograph, comes with all this different merch and stuff like that, mini posters, bookmarks and stuff. Or you could just buy the vanilla copy from Amazon. On Amazon, you can actually preview, like, I don't know, like the first half of the first chapter or something like that. I don't know. But anyways, and here's a little sneak peek of my next Truth in Movies too. So if you guys have been paying attention, you probably know which movie this is. I highly recommend checking out my Truth in Movie series. That is my presentation on the pyramids, the complex underneath them. I can't remember. I feel like I'm forgetting stuff. There's probably so much more to this, and I might do a call-in show. I have a call-in show called The Campfire. I might do this as a topic because I feel like this is something that a lot of people are going to want to call in and share your theories and your ideas on. So maybe we'll do that at the next Campfire episode. Until then, and until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ, saying good vibes and goodbye.
In a time when an ancient cataclysm is about to return, one book holds the key to unlocking the biggest secret in all of history. JayDreamerZ presents Ancient Oblivion, the Plasma Apocalypse. Study it, and you'll discover the very real details behind the reoccurring event that resets civilizations and reshapes the entire world. Bridging the gap between fiction and fact, this book is a must-have for all truth seekers. Then in his second book, you'll learn about the one place of refuge from this world storm. You'll explore the ends of the earth, find the fountain of youth, and envision yourself enveloped in the vapor canopy. In Ancient Oblivion, Return to Hyperborea. Available now. Order direct from JayDreamerZ and receive your very own autographed copy. Go to JayDreamerZ.com for more information on our Ancient Oblivion and the Plasma Apocalypse, and sign up for a free 24-hour cram session with a complimentary day pass. The end is near, so order now before it's too late.
I try so hard to fade away, but something's forcing me to stay. It'd be easier for me if I turn away to flee. Oh, but there's something holding on, the way of being long gone. There's so many ways to escape, but I guess it's time to wake up, time to wake up. Far too many ways to escape, but I guess it's time to wake up, time to wake up. Time to wake up, time to wake up, baby. Time to wake up, time to wake up. Time to wake up, time to wake up, baby. Time to wake up, time to wake up. I know I should have done this, should have quit this long ago. Can't stand another heartbreak, but it's time to let it go. It'd be easier for me if I turn away to flee. Oh, but there's something holding on, the way of being long gone. There's so many ways to escape, but I guess it's time to wake up, time to wake up. Far too many ways to escape, but I guess it's time to wake up, time to wake up. Time to wake up, time to wake up, baby. Time to wake up, time to wake up. Time to wake up, time to wake up, baby. Time to wake up, time to wake up. There's so many ways to escape, but I guess it's time to wake up, time to wake up. Far too many ways to escape, but I guess it's time to wake up, time to wake up. Time to wake up, time to wake up, baby. Time to wake up, time to wake up. Time to wake up, time to wake up, baby. Time to wake up, time to wake up. Could